I debated with that for a while, and I think of the awakening, the first part of the world awakened, it's when we say when you have an awakening experience, you've been enlightened, or you think of like when you're sleeping and you wake up in the morning, right? It's that awakening moment. And when you have an enlightened moment, Dharma, my teacher calls it self-realization or self-actualization. Another word I chose is awakened. It's that. It's just you're awakened. You're open to the truth. And I believe that once you're awakened to the truth, you can't go back to sleep. You can't pretend. Once you know, you can't pretend you don't know. I've been vegetarian since I was 16 years old, and that was a great thing about the martial arts school that I was in. Is a lot of the instructors in the community were vegetarians, and as a child, I had asthma. I was always sick. I was in the hospital, in ER, taking inhalers, getting the breath nebulizer pills, and I was like, this can't be natural. From my childhood to the time I was about 16 is when I decided to become vegetarian. I was like, this can't be it. Something's got to be wrong, and I didn't know what it was. And I had a conversation with somebody at the karate school who was very, very health conscious. Back in 1990 or whatever year it was, he knew what we all know now. Factory farming, the hormone injections of the animals, all these things that they're doing horrible. He knew this stuff, and he was talking to us about this in a 30-minute car ride going from the Bronx to Queens. I had asked him before we left the school. I said, "Hey, his nickname was Papa Joe. If you know the Smurfs, Papa Smurf. So since he was the wise one of the group, we called him Papa Joe. I said, "Hey, Papa Joe, I have asthma. What I do? He's like, do you eat meat? I was like, yes. Do you drink milk? Yes. He said, that's why. And he walked away. And I was like, what? Because in all my years of going to the doctor in the ER, not one doctor ever said, what's your diet like? Not one. It was always like, oh, take an inhaler, you need this pill, you need this. Not one said, what's your diet? Change your diet. And a 30-minute car ride, because then he drove me home from the Bronx to Queens. In 30 minutes, he hit me with all the facts. Everything that we all know now, he knew it back then. And I was like, I'll never eat meat again.